Can you believe that this sloth is like right there at eye level too? Welcome to Peligro Life. Today is all about sloths. And no, they're not gonna be this size. We're gonna go on an adventurous trip looking for two-toed sloths, three-toed sloths, and find out why they're different. So join us for a sloth-tastic journey. Exploring Costa Rica's Caribbean coast near Puerto Viejo, we hit the jackpot and found 11 wild sloths in one day, and even more in the sloth sanctuary. Most people will only spot a fuzzy ball way up in the trees, but we were able to get incredibly close to Costa Rica's laziest celebrity. So let's meet the two species of sloths in Costa Rica, see what makes them similar, different, and play a little game I call Spot the Sloth. We all know sloths are lazy, but their name literally comes from one of the 7 deadly sins, sloth, meaning spiritual or mental laziness. In Spanish, they're called oso perezoso, lazy bear. In German, they're das Faultier, literally lazy animal. But do they really deserve the name? That depends on how you define efficiency versus laziness. Sloths eat mostly leaves, an abundant resource in the rainforest, and better yet, there's very little competition for this nutrient-poor diet. They figured out how to thrive on something easy to come by that nobody really wants. Like cows, sloths have a 4-chambered stomach and spend most of their time digesting. It can take them up to a month to process a single meal. Once the food is digested, they head to the bathroom, but only once a week do they climb down from the tree to do their business on the ground. And after holding it for a week, they make quite a large deposit, losing up to 30% of their body weight in one bathroom trip. You might be thinking, why risk that dangerous trip to the ground instead of just going to the bathroom from the branches? Scientists believe it's partly to mark their territory and partly to fertilize the very trees that feed them, the ultimate recycling process. Out of the 6 sloth species in the world, 2 live here in Costa Rica. And while they share some traits in common, they're about as related as cats and dogs are. First up, Hoffman's two-toed sloth. This is the bigger one of the two. It has brownish fur, a pig-like snout, and a face that says, "Do not disturb." They have 2 claws on their front limbs, which give them their name, and 3 claws on their back limbs. So technically, it's more accurate to call them a 2-fingered sloth. They're nocturnal, so you'll often catch them sleeping during the day, but as soon as the sun goes down, they get on the move. These are the more adventurous diners of the two. In addition to eating leaves, they also enjoy fruits and other parts of the plant. Something else really cool about them is that their fur parts down the belly, forming a natural raincoat for water to shed off their backs. Two-toed sloths have really short necks because they only have 6 cervical vertebrae, which is 1 less than what we have in our own necks. Another good identifier is their thick, exposed skin on their hands, called the glabrous pads, and they have no visible tail. Something crazy about two-toed sloths is just how different their body temperature is than ours. If we go up 5 degrees or down 5 degrees, we get sick. A sloth's body temperature can be between 74 degrees and 92 degrees Fahrenheit. That's insane. Now meet the brown-throated three-toed sloth, also known as the 3-fingered sloth. They've got that permanent pura vida smile. Unlike two-toads, they're diurnal, meaning they're active during the day. They eat only leaves and tend to stay in the same tree for multiple days. With 9 vertebrae in their neck, they can turn their head 270 degrees, just like an owl. This is perfect for spotting predators or silently judging you. Three-toed sloths have a smaller head, a short stubby tail, grayish fur, and males sport a dark patch on their back called a spectrum. Their front limbs are 50% longer than their hind limbs, and it kind of looks like a living hammock. Before we get to the game, let's review. Two-toed, nocturnal, varied diet, snouty face, brownish fur, exposed skin on the hands. Three-toed, diurnal, leaf eater, smiley face, long neck, long arms, grayish fur, and the males have a brown back patch. Now it's time to test your wildlife watching skills and play Spot the Sloth. Rules are simple. Look at the picture, find the sloth. 1 point if you spot it, another if you can successfully identify the species. Post your score in the comments. Ready? You got 5 seconds. Go! Found it? Let's make it a little harder. You got 5 seconds. Go! Found it? Let's make it a little harder. You got 5 seconds. Go! Nice job! Now you're ready to find them in the wild. But honestly, this is what they look like 90% of the time. So if you get closer than 50 feet to a wild sloth, consider yourself lucky. But sloths weren't always difficult to spot. 2.6 million years ago, sloths came in an extra large size.
If you can believe it, prehistoric sloths used to be this big. I'm actually kind of happy that they're the size they are now.
Megatherium was the giant ground sloth. It stood as tall as an elephant, and they roamed the Americas as far north as present-day Alaska. Imagine a sloth the size of a car trying to climb a tree. Yeah, they stayed on the ground. Today's smaller tree-dwelling sloths are much more laid back too. Giant sloths vanished thousands of years ago, and now only 6 species remain today. And their closest living relatives? Not monkeys, but anteaters and armadillos. This was something really cool we learned at a sloth lover's paradise called the Sloth Sanctuary. Not every sloth can return to the wild. Some are injured by cars, power lines, or dogs. Others lose their homes to deforestation or are taken in the illegal pet trade. Rescue centers like the Sloth Sanctuary rehabilitate injured sloths and give lifelong care to those who can't be released. Every sloth here has a story, and their unique personalities inspire visitors to take an active role in conservation. Meet Briggsy, a 3-toed sloth who was abandoned as a baby. It's hard to say why, but there's speculation he could have been a twin. And in the sloth world, mom can only support 1 baby at a time. In order to survive, sometimes mama sloth has to make the unthinkable choice, caring for 1 baby while leaving another behind. Here, Briggsy knows nothing else. He's safe, happy, and he seemed to spend his entire day's worth of energy showing off for us. Then there's Rena and Peppa, an unlikely but utterly adorable pair of 2-toed sloths. In the wild, sloths are mostly solitary, coming together only to mate, and it's rare for them to share their personal space. But fate had other plans. Arriving at the sanctuary at different times for different reasons, these two found something unexpected in each other: comfort, companionship, and maybe even a little joy. At one point, they were separated and both became extremely stressed, so the team at the Sloth Sanctuary decided to make them roommates. It was the perfect match. Now, they spend their days side by side, happily lounging, snacking, and proving that sometimes friendship grows where you least expect it. In addition to the amazing residents, we met some of the incredible staff that are truly passionate about sloths. I highly recommend visiting the Sloth Sanctuary if you like sloths and supporting local conservation. If you want to see sloths in the wild, they're all over Costa Rica, but the Caribbean coast is my favorite place and is loaded with these lovable lazy loungers. Regardless of the amount of fingers they have, sloths are incredibly adapted to life in the slow lane. Sure, they have to watch out for predatory birds, snakes, and big cats, but with that camouflage, they do a pretty good job of avoiding confrontation. It's humans who have the biggest impact on their populations, but we can have a positive impact as well. If you enjoyed this slow motion showdown, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments which sloth would you want to meet in the wild.
Thanks for watching Peligro Life and the Sloths. This is awesome. I have never been this close to a 2-toed sloth. Gotta love Costa Rica. Stay wild.